And we start with that breaking overnight news this morning. We have a crew out gathering details on a SWAT situation in northwest Albuquerque where police were trying to get a man down from the roof of a building. That's where we find News 13's Sarah Yingling live this morning with the very latest. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Crystal. That SWAT situation has just ended with the man being taken to the hospital. Now, this is what the scene looks like right now. You can tell it's pretty quiet, but it was an entirely different story overnight here on 7th Street. That's where police say he crashed his car in front of Ramirez Inc. and then took off. Officers were able to track him down to the Goodwill warehouse roof behind Ramirez Inc. They say he refused to follow orders and he claimed to have a weapon. He was also reportedly threatening to hurt others and himself. That's when APD tells us the situation got serious and the call was turned over to SWAT. Officers negotiated with the man into the early morning hours and were finally able to get him down with a cherry picker. Now that man has been taken to a hospital. It's unclear if those injuries are serious or not. And we're also trying to learn if he will be facing any charges. We'll be keeping you updated on air and online. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Sarah. Again, no word at this time whether alcohol or drugs are involved at this moment. We will stay on the story throughout the day. Let you know the very latest here on KRQE. On to this bizarre bust. A couple accused of asking police for help with a car they were trying to steal. Still in jail this morning. Police say 27-year-old Cristina Aragon and 29-year-old Michael Farley made the mistake of asking undercover detectives for some jumper cables. This after the car they're accused of trying to steal would not start. Turns out the detectives had been watching the whole thing. They held off on an immediate arrest because the incident was taking place near a Catholic school. That was until the accused thieves called them over. That's when they had to make a move and put the school on lockdown.
Please get on the ground right now. Get on the ground.
APD says Aragon admitted she stole that car from her mom. Farley admitted he knew that it was stolen. New this morning, a bill to transfer unclaimed lottery prizes to the Lottery Scholarship Fund will not go into law. Governor Susana Martinez vetoed the measure yesterday. Lawmakers approved the measure during this year's session, saying it could boost the fund by more than $2 million. However, the governor says the money would not be enough to close the funding gap anyway. She told lawmakers yesterday the money would be better used to create new lotto games, in turn boosting the fund that way. Happening right now this morning, the lawsuit filed by former APS Superintendent Winston Brooks is on hold. In 2014, APS gave Brooks $350,000 to leave his position as superintendent. One of the conditions was that APS would not badmouth Brooks. Soon after, though, Brooks sued, saying acting superintendent Brad Winter did just that to the Albuquerque Journal. During a court hearing yesterday, APS said Winter should not have to testify in the suit. A judge agreed and put the case on hold while other issues are being worked out. Brooks's wife has power of attorney. There are concerns about whether Brooks is actually fit to continue in the lawsuit. A new billboard in Albuquerque getting a lot of attention this morning. Police say it's giving people the wrong idea about crime in the city. This billboard for company Alpha Alarm claims there are 85 break-ins a day in the metro. It's an alarming number, but Albuquerque police say it's a lie.
There's no way that's accurate. That seems way too high.
According to the FBI's crime statistics, 85 is too high. The true average number of burglaries in Albuquerque every day is 16. We looked into it. Alpha Alarm used the number of property crimes in Albuquerque to get to 85, but that also includes shoplifting, car theft, bicycle thefts, and even pickpocketing. This morning, the state has its hands tied and will not be able to enforce its new rules for food stamps after a ruling from a federal judge. Judge Kenneth Gonzalez issued an injunction Monday preventing the state from enforcing new work requirements for some on welfare. The governor's office ordered the change requiring able-bodied adults who don't have any kids to prove they spend 80 hours a month working or maybe looking for a job. Congresswoman Michelle Lujan Grisham agrees with the court.
They are illegally taking a benefit away from the very people who need it and paid for it.
The state argues a change keeps people from abusing the system. Happening today, more than 13,000 New Mexico Walmart workers are expected to get a raise. Hourly wage workers at Walmart and Sam's Club will see a bump in pay after the company decided to increase the minimum wage within the company from $9 to $10 an hour. The average full-time hourly wage will be $13.38 an hour. That's still below the national average for hourly retail workers, though. The company announced last year its plan to pay employees more. The state land commissioner is telling a Texas oil company to clean up, saying it's polluting public land. Sienna Operating LLC of Midland was given a permit to drill for oil on state trust land in Lee County. Investigators say the company has left behind huge pools of oil left to seep into the ground there. The state land commissioner says the company's lease expired in 2015 and it still owes the state a lot of money. The company has been ordered to clean up all of that damage. Congresswoman Michelle Lujan Grisham now pushing legislation she hopes will help fight hunger right here in New Mexico. The bill would make it easier for food banks to distribute to communities by requiring $100 million of federal money to be set aside for New Mexico per year and increasing funding for food purchases to $500 million. Grisham says this would allow food banks to cover the cost of storage and distribution.
In this country, in this state, in this community, there should not be one hungry person.
Yesterday, the Roadrunner Food Bank delivered more than 7,000 pounds of food just to the Parito Mesa. Okay, take a look at this. A fight on board a Spirit Airlines flight captured on cell phone video. Witnesses say this brawl began after the plane landed at LAX. A couple of passengers apparently started blasting music. Some other passengers became angry by all that noise. That's when the fight broke out. The fight did not last long. Witnesses say things calmed down. That was after police were called in. No one was seriously hurt. Only one passenger was cited in this. You might remember a Spirit flight was forced to land at the Sunport a week ago after witnesses on board say that flight, there was a fight that broke out on that flight as well. And we start with some breaking news just into our newsroom. The search is on this morning for two escaped prisoners. The New Mexico Corrections Department says the pair was being transported along this route to the Southern New Mexico Correctional Facility. Authorities suspect they escaped somewhere between Roswell and Las Cruces. 32-year-old Joseph Cruz serving time for murder and child abuse. 29-year-old Leonel Claw is serving time for armed robbery with a deadly weapon. Here are the facts we know right now. Authorities say the men are most likely wearing white paper transport suits. They also say they could be fully shackled with leg irons, belly chains, and handcuffs. Authorities say Cruz has a tattoo reading alias on the back of his neck with a tribal symbol on his ear and the words 13 Smiley on his right elbow. Claw has a tattoo of a feather on his left cheekbone, multiple tattoos on his arms. State police say they are considered armed and dangerous. If you see them or know where they're at, you are asked to call authorities immediately. On to some other breaking news that we've been covering all morning. Tramway had been closed in both directions for quite some time this morning as Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputies say they were investigating a deadly crash. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is live there near Sandia Casino with the very latest. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. As you can see, I am right by Sandia Casino here at the intersection of Rainbow and Tramway, where lanes are back open on Tramway right now. Let me tell you what we know right now. So BCSO says they were dispatched to Tramway near Rainbow Road at around 12:30 this morning. This video we gathered a half hour later. Now we do know that one person has been killed and another person is in the hospital from a head-on collision between two vehicles. BCSO says one vehicle may have veered into the other lane, but again, they were investigating as of just recently. What we do know is that again, Tramway is back open, and we are waiting to hear more as far as who these victims are and whether or not any other factors played into this. At this time, BCSO only can tell us that alcohol did not, they don't think, play a factor. Back to you.
All right, thanks for that update, Catherine. We will continue to follow this story throughout the morning, throughout the day here on KRQE News 13, and we'll advise you on more through our KRQE News app. Now on to an update to more breaking overnight news, this time in northwest Albuquerque. Just hours ago, police took a suspect into custody who crashed, then scaled the building of a Goodwill to try and get away. This is video of the Goodwill near 7th and Aspen. That's where it took place. Police say the man crashed his car in front of a Ramirez Inc., then got on top of the roof of the Goodwill property behind the tattoo shop. SWAT members were called in. They tried to talk him down. Officers say the man was refusing to come down and threatening to hurt others and possibly himself. Here's a video of the man sitting on top of the Goodwill building. The man was taken to the hospital, as I mentioned, a few hours ago. We're also waiting to hear what charges the man could face at this time. We will keep you updated as more details do come into our newsroom, again, on air and through our KRQE News app. On to this now. This morning, a new law is now in place that will force some people who suffer from mental illness into court-ordered treatment. First, the court must find that the patient is a danger to themselves or to others. Yesterday, Governor Susana Martinez signed the bill called Kendras law. For some local families and lawmakers, the law has been a long time coming. New Mexico was one of only 5 states that did not have a version of Kendras law. The legislation was named after Kendra Webdale, who was pushed in front of an oncoming New York subway train back in 1999 by a man battling untreated schizophrenia. New this morning, the proposal to change APS's policy to accommodate transgender students is heading to the superintendent's leadership committee. Last night, the school board discussed changing its policy. According to the Albuquerque Journal, though, their role was merely to advise district administrators on the proposal. The new proposed policy would allow students who identify as female to use the girls' restroom. The same would apply for the students who identify themselves as males. That was a concern for some board members and some parents. However, most in the district say they're open to the changes. The policy also covers dress codes, stating students can dress according to their gender identity. This morning, an airman is asking for your help to find the men he says stole his truck and irreplaceable belongings like his medals. He doesn't want us to identify him, but he says he had only been in Albuquerque one day when thieves broke into his truck at the Homewood Suites near Louisiana and Manal.
It seemed like it was a nicer area, so I thought everything would be okay. You know, hindsight is always 20/20.
He says they took his guns and military medals and his credit cards, creating a paper trail of receipts that he's now following. He's now playing detective, and he went to the stores where his cards were used to gather surveillance video, then posted these flyers online, hoping someone will turn in the suspects. The airman even started a hotline for anyone who wants to help him crack this case. The hotline number that he registered is 585-HELP. On to news happening today. Former First Lady Nancy Reagan will lay in repose for the second day ahead of her funeral that's set for tomorrow. More than 3,000 people paid their respects yesterday to the former First Lady, who died at the age of 94. She will be buried at the Reagan Library next to her husband, former President Ronald Reagan. First Lady Michelle Obama, is scheduled to attend the services. Again, that is tomorrow. New developments this morning for the officer caught on camera slapping a student in Baltimore. He and the other officer on camera now facing charges. An attorney for one of the officers says it was believed that the 16-year-old student was trespassing at the school. The video recorded by another teen at the school apparently shows one of the officers shouting profanities at the student as he struck and kicked him, then told him to go home. The lawyer for the teen says he is a 10th grader at that school. Both officers were arrested and released on bond. They are both suspended this morning.